spray some suspension parts. Okay, now for the second coat. The paint I'm using is basically black enamel paint, reduced with thinners, 2:1 or a little bit over 2:1, and I'm also using a paint hardener. Hopefully that will give it a little bit of extra durability. Anyway, here goes for the second coat. Okay, second coat done. I'll wait for 10 minutes, do the third coat. Coat number 3. Okay, I've got enough paint left for another coat, so I'll wait for another 10 minutes. Okay, fourth coat coming up. All done. Okay. Just put a bit of slip on here, a bit of grease, rubber grease. And shove the arm on. Got one on. I'll just place these temporary until I get the springs. Once the spring goes in, these can all be done up. loose as it were until I get the new spring. I am going, however, to replace that bump stop. Doesn't look too bad, but the other side was completely perished, so I bought a pair, and I may as well replace it. Okay, I've replaced the bump stop. This side wasn't too bad. In fact, this side was really quite good, but I decided to replace it anyway, make it the same as the other side. Anyway, another job done. I've ordered the springs, which I should get next week, and we'll see how we go from there. Okay, I've got the top trunnion in, but what you have to do is loosen this bolt here and move the arm on the shocker, undo this bolt and move that shocker arm out, because the new bearings are too wide to fit in the gap, and also I've had to use a longer bolt to draw it back together, because the actual bolt that fits in here when you take this apart is not long enough. So now that I've drawn it together, I've got enough room here to get the nut on the trunnion. I have the new set of springs which have arrived today. There's the broken one. I've refurbished the Armstrong shocker, pulled it apart last night. I'll show another video of the other side when I do that one. Basically drained it, cleaned it, filled it up with shock oil, primed it, opened the valve here, primed it, and it's much better than it was, so it's definitely worth doing. Definitely worth doing. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead now and reassemble whatever I can tonight. It will be dark soon, so we'll see how we go. Okay, let's put the hub and kingpin assembly back in place. It's quite heavy. Steady with my knee, get the bolt in. Sit. Basically, I learned from the other side to leave everything loose whilst reassembling. Okay. Grab the spring. Going to be the awkward bit. Okay. the lower bolt, nut bolt and washer off. When you jack this up, you have to realign everything. Okay. Make sure that seals in place. One in. Now I need to line up the other side. This is the Swingarm Clamp. It's 9/16. Close up the gap, get it tight. Get the Swingarm Clamp bolt on. It's also 9/16. This might be easier said than done. Okay, I'm going to torque up some of these bolts. Kingpin trunnion, or kingpin to damper, which is the upper fulcrum, 40 foot-pounds, which is 55 Newton meters. So I'll set the torque range to 55. go through. Okay, the lower one. Kingpin to Wishbone lower fulcrum, 45 foot-pounds, which is 62 Newton meters. I'll just set the top wrench again. Okay, and that one lines up perfectly. Okay, the Wishbone cross bolt and the shock absorber pinch bolt, which is this one and this one on the shock absorber shaft, swing arm shaft, they're both 28 foot-pounds, which is 38 Newton meters. Again, I'll set this top wrench, 38 Newton meters. Very hot today in Sydney. It's about, at the moment it's about 37, 38 degrees. That's why I've got the fan here. There we go. Should do that one. This one is also 38 Newton meters. There we go. Okay, next thing I'm going to reassemble is the brake caliper. I've checked the discs and they've almost got maybe 80% left on them, so there's no need to change the brake discs. The brake caliper mounting should be torqued up to 40 to 45 foot-pounds, which is, well, I'm going to set it to about 60 Newton meters. Looks like these are 5/8, so 5/8 it is. Okay. Okay, now the only thing I've got left to do, as far as torquing goes, are the Wishbone rear bush nuts. Now apparently the car should be on its front wheel for this. Not sure the reasoning behind that, but for the first time in 3 weeks I'll have to jack the car up and put it back on its front left hand side wheel. But before I do that, I'll do up this tie rod end. Okay, next up is the tie rod end. Now, I'm not quite sure how you do this up if you don't have a rattle gun, because obviously once the nylock grips, it just spins the ball joint. So this one needs to be torqued up to 34 to 35 foot-pounds, which is about 47 and a half Newton meters. So we'll do it up with this first, and then I'll try and get the torque wrench on it. That rattle gun actually is one of my best investments. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay, well, that's it. Pretty good. Okay, now I think it's time to do the wheel nut. So I'll do that next before I put the wheel on. Okay, I'm going to do the bearing nut up. The spec for that is 40 to 70 foot-pounds. There's a bit of a range there because you have to line up the castle nut with the hole in the shaft for the split pin. So there's a bit of leeway to be somewhere between 40 and 70 foot-pounds, which is 55 to 95 Newton meters. So I might go somewhere in between and set it to 75 Newton meters. Need an extension for this, obviously. Might need a little bit of brute force here. Oh, we're there. We're already there. Okay. Just check that it does line up. Okay, it lines up with the hole. And now that will allow me to put this split pin in. Oh, I can't believe my luck, that goes in too easy. Okay, that's the hub nut on, or the bearing hub nut, and the grease cap is also in there, so that theoretically should be all done. Okay, this is something I made up. It's a bit crude, but it works.